Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Harley, and I'm over here with Chase. Well, I'm not here with Chase. I'm on the screen with Chase. Hi, Chase.
What's up?
I can't see Chase from my screen, but he can see me, so I'm just like kind of looking right there. But yeah, guys, welcome to the YouTube channel for Interlude. This is Prelude, sort of live, but live. It's whatever. We kind of wanted to. So, if you're watching this and it's been past this whole epidemic, we're kind of like right now, 2020. What's today? It's April 3rd right now, 2020, and we are in the middle of a pandemic, the coronavirus, COVID-19, and so we haven't been able to kind of host our little interlude nights and gatherings, and so we kind of didn't want to sit around for 5+ months dealing with this pandemic, and so we were spitballing ideas like, okay, what can we do right now that um, kind of embraces the interlude spirit, a sense of rest, sense of peace, that cultivates creativity. And my brain instantly went to make music. And then I'm like, wait, it takes a lot of time, and I'm not that great at music. So I went to another idea. I was like, podcasting. So I've had experience in podcasting, so that was like a natural kind of move for me, was to do it's kind of like a podcast sort of thing. I've never done like a live stream like this, but I have done different podcasts throughout my life. So yeah, it was just kind of like a natural idea to like move in towards. So yeah, you got anything to add to that, Chase?
Yeah, no, that set it up perfectly. I mean, in addition to that, I guess that's kind of why I'm here. Is I have sort of that experience in recording and live streaming. So, if anything, the production value only goes up from here. So, if
Yeah.
people decide to stick around for our next episode, look forward to some great things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we do plan on moving this not just on YouTube, but also moving it eventually in the future to just a solely audio based format. Because that's how I find like I learned the best is like from an audio standpoint. And I'm one of those weird people who can sit through a 3 hour podcast and be thoroughly entertained and invested into it. So it's just a natural thing for me. Um, the kind of like ideas we have a lot of ideas on what to do with this, and we'd love to like hear your guys' ideas for it too. Our main goal is to try to just, I don't know, give some peace and rest from the craziness, especially if you're listening to it right now during the pandemic. Just it's been crazy, and I feel like there's this balance of being informed but also not being obsessed over it. And I think that I think in general, everyone's leaning more towards the I'm gonna obsess over this pandemic. And I think we wanted to create a space where we can just take a step again, like, you know what? Let's not talk about it right now. Let's just focus on what we're learning and what we're doing outside of that. So that's the last you're hearing about COVID-19 from this point on, starting now.
Yep.
But yeah, so Chase, what have you kind of been up to during this time? Like, um, yeah, because we haven't seen each other for almost a month in person.
Yeah. I've been up to kind of all sorts of things, just here and there. My biggest thing has been doing a lot of thought and sort of planning about sort of the future of what is 2020. I mean, we're here kind of stuck, not able to do a whole lot, and so kind of figuring out ways to be creative in that sort of nowhere to go mindset. A lot of it has been sort of how to do digital content because that's kind of a thing I'm passionate about, and so
Mm,
kind of finding ways to do that, whether it be through this podcast, through videos, through live streaming, through whatever, um, through making some sort of content for people. That's kind of been what I've been up to. In other spare time that I have when I'm not doing that, it's just kind of connecting with friends like this via video chat or through calls or whatever, or hanging with family. Just kind of going with the flow and seeing where things lead.
yeah, for sure. I think for me, I've found myself thinking about like my creative endeavors in a totally different way. I'm learning like kind of a diligency that's a word, to it, like a responsibility I have to my creativity and my art, because we are faced with like all this time, and I think everyone kind of went through their little phase of like, I have all this time, I'm just gonna like chill, you know. I obviously I struggle with that balance of being responsible with the time I have, but also being too lackadaisic about that time because I have nowhere to go. So I'm just gonna stay home and like watch videos on like clothing and music and stuff. I don't need to watch a video on how like a rap structure is decompressed all the time, you know? And so I've definitely felt like God's been trying to teach me responsibility in like the art forms that I carry, you know? So something like with what we do with Interlude, it's easy to be invested in it when you see the kind of like fruits of our labors by like having people enjoy the moment in the actual environment, having people create stuff that you can see. But because we're all separated, we can't really see that, you know. We can still work on it, but it's just the in the moment part of it is kind of been lost in a way. And so um, it's kind of like what you were saying, kind of creating different ways to still be invested in the art, you know, or finding new ways to be invested in it. And so I've been kind of like learning having responsibility. So I think doing this podcast is a step in the right direction, you know?
Yeah. And that's for sure. That's one of our goals with this podcast is to get people involved, whether that be the members of this podcast, both me, Harley, and whoever else we invite on, but also to our audience. And that's part of one of the things we want to do is have sort of a live streaming event where people can gather together and talk about whether it be tough questions, whether it be topical questions, whether it be just kind of to hang out and just have interactions, at least until this blows over and even after the fact. So
yeah, most definitely. I think for me, I love the idea of like different topics. You know, we were talking off mic that like one of the topics I love to like explore in like a future episode would be how culture influences faith and how faith influences culture. But I also really do like hearing about people. You know, I think that, you know, if you guys don't know, we're part of Seacoast Grace Church, and it's a mega church, you know, like, yeah, it's a mega church. We can call it that. There's just a lot of people there, and it's easy to know people, but it's like difficult to understand people in that aspect. Like Chase, I knew of Chase, but as I started hanging out with Chase more, and we would like go grab in and out and just hang out because we had similar friends, I got to really understand Chase and see like, oh, like this guy is like way deeper than like just the tech guy who works at Seacoast. He's a musician, he's a creative, he's all these different things. And so I really like the aspect of bringing people on and trying to like show different layers to them and exploring those layers. I think people are fascinating, and I think people are way deeper than we expect them to be.
yeah, to add on to that, I guess that is, yeah, the essence of this podcast is going to be to kind of explore things, no matter what the topic is, whether it's how to, you know, kind of bring out that creativity, whether it's, you know, exploring some of our own creativity and kind of what we're capable of doing. I think the importance of this podcast is just going to be a way to create a community that maybe already exists and just isn't really showing itself much, or maybe to bring out a community that hasn't existed and kind of needs to. So
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to our friend Jojo about this podcast, and we were talking about like, he's like, what do you want to do with it? I'm like, honestly, I don't know, because like, how do you plan for something that hasn't been created yet? You know, like obviously churches have like started their own podcasts. Obviously, different aspects of culture have created podcasts out of that. You know, like, however, there hasn't been this kind of like event gathering that's like kind of had their own kind of medium. You know, like I've been to parties before, and I'm sure, and like there's plenty of like party podcasts. I've been to art galleries before, and there's like art podcasts. However, they've always kind of like lacked this communal vibe. It's always been either like too lackadaisic and kind of like too like, okay, you're just, you know, inebriated on and you recorded yourself talking, you know? or it's like too higher learning, like you need a master's degree to understand half the things these people are talking about.
Yeah.
There hasn't been like that middle ground of like, hey, we're intelligent people, however we're also friends and we don't need to prove to each other how smart we are, but we also have respect for each other's intellect. So like, let's talk like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think that'll be one of the things to explore too. And I was kind of just thinking about it, but like maybe part of this, the visual aspect of this podcast, can be like exploring, different forms of art, whether that's cinematography, photography, painting, whatever, clothing design. Maybe that's something we can do in the future as part of that community aspect, is have people kind of showcase what they're working on and make
Absolutely,
this sort of
yeah.
the springboard platform for them to kind of showcase things, and in a sense also provide feedback on it too.
Yeah. No, I absolutely like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think, oh, damn. I just started downloading something on my computer. I canceled it. Cool. But yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, to kind of like close this out, let's reverse it, because usually like there's this kind of introduction of each person at the beginning. We'll kind of like throw that on its head. Let's just kind of like introduce ourselves, and what we do and what we'd like to do. So I'll start. My name is Harley James Callahan. Um, I am a native Californian. I love California. I think it's the greatest state in the world. I also think it's the lamest state in the world. Um, I love music. I'm a music connoisseur. There's connoisseur. I didn't pronounce that right. No, whatever. I love all types of music, particularly hip hop and punk rock. But I kind of go from there. I'm currently in an R&B phase right now. I love R&B. Music guy. I play instruments. I'm not the greatest. I can just do what I like to do. Um, I'm 22 years old, or young, however you look at that. I've lived in Orange County for most of my teen life. I grew up in Bellflower, California. Shouts out Bellflower 562. Um, yeah, I'm a coffee snob. I love, love, love coffee. I got into that from some old punkers at my church, my old church. Love coffee, particularly Bolivian coffee lately, because it's just so rare to grab. Anyway, that's a tangent. I'm a reader, currently reading 5 books right now. I know it sounds crazy. It's just how my brain works. I can't sit with one book for a long time. I have to like bounce back and forth. Um, yeah, I've been kind of getting into fashion, which goes back to our buddy Jojo. He got me into fashion, so I'm a big fan of Fear of God, Rude. Those are 2 brands I really respect and admire. I've been a Christian since I was 18. I left for about a year, and I came back and became a real follower of Jesus at the age of 19. Yeah, I've been attending Seacoast Grace for it's going to be 4 years this July, I think, July or August. So I've been going there for a long time. Before that, I was at a church in Garden Grove, and yeah, I kind of wanted to like start this kind of event that we have just so we can, because I love parties. I'm from a Hispanic and Native American family and German family. Like I'm just mixed. And so parties are our thing, and we just love to like just party it out and just have a good time. And I kind of want to like create that environment. However, I'm about a year sober, and so I kind of didn't want to have that incorporated with it, like I wasn't finding like a cool place to like hang out with that was sober minded. And I also think that like I also wanted to create a space where like for more artistic people to like gather as well, because art galleries to me are like still kind of too stuffy, like don't touch it, um which you gotta respect art, you gotta respect like people's like product, and I get that. However, the environment's too stuffy. It's too kind of like, again, too master's degree or too artsy for me. So yeah, I just want to kind of create a chill, a party environment where artists can like showcase their work in a totally lackadaisic way. And so that's kind of like where the genesis of Interlude started was from just throwing kickbacks at my house with my friends, and it being kind of like a no alcohol, no weed, no whatever, like just bring food and a guitar, or hey, bring that art piece you brought and show everyone. So that's how I like kind of like started having this idea.
All right, and I guess to kind of wrap it up because we're a little short on time, I'll go ahead and intro myself, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. So I'm Chase, all around tech guy, pretty much heavy nerd when it comes to anything video games, tech, media, content creation. That's kind of my thing. Like Harley, been around church pretty much forever in a sense. I grew into it and stuck with it. Also, I attend Seacoast with him, so that's something we have in common. I don't know. I mean, in terms of like hobbies and things, yeah, music has always been kind of a hobby. I kind of just play whatever feels right in a sense. I've never been sort of, I guess you call it, classically trained. Um, wasn't really a fan of lessons or things like that, or just kind of like band practice. That wasn't really my thing. I kind of just like to play whatever felt right. And I mean, this podcast will be kind of interesting to see where it goes, and kind of what content we come up with and who we bring on and sort of what stories and different things come about. But with that said, anything you'd like to say to kind of wrap us up?
Anyone who's rocked with us since the beginning and new people, I love and I appreciate all of you guys. Couldn't do this without you. And if you're bored at home, read a book. That's about it. Read a book.
Read a book. All right.
Read a book.
And with that said, we'll see you on the next episode.